I have two guests waiting here for me. Oleg Ivanov. He was involved and he is involved in a software development, right? Yeah, he's a software developer of everything that surrounds us in this standoff. And Anton Kuzmin. Anton, hello. He represents a team which is very important to us. This is a team from Inner Stage Company. And in the course of 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, they are co-organizers of our event, Positive Hug Days. And in the course of the same amount of years, they participate in the standoff. In the beginning, they've been participating in the standoff as participants. Then they've been participating in the standoff as assistants in our global SOC. And right now, our global SOC is resting somewhere in the south, and then it's being replaced by the Inner Stage SOC.
Антон.
Yes, that's right. Anton. Well, I'd like to explain it to you. Here, these people, they know which attacks did happen yesterday, which risks have been realized or inaccessible events, and who is at fault for everything that is happening. So, Anton, can you give us the news from yesterday? Well, standard story in the beginning of the event. The first attacks were against web and DMZ from the internet side. So everything which sticks out in the internet. So yesterday, 8 risks of unacceptable events were changing in the cost of railroad tickets. It's a very simple event. And the red team had to do only one action. Basically, they had to Google. And it's a spoiler for the remaining teams who didn't do that yet. And one team, at the end of the day, was able to realize in the same logistical company. I don't know why they hate it so much. And personal data was leaked. Well, everything as we like. Tickets cannot be purchased. Personal data was leaked. Oleg, I have a question to you. Can you tell me, please, how were you able to do it in such a way so that everything that these guys see could be realized in our infrastructure? Because you are responsible for all this stuff. That's right. Well, there's a lot of stages. Stage number 1, preliminary design and thinking about the vectors of attacks and risks. And we have a lot of cross-sections with other teams which participate and make vulnerable services, including our hackers, which can bring their own experience and things that we see in a lot of other projects. So integration with the replica. And then we have a big automation team which helps us to deploy the infrastructure and send all these logs to the product so that our SOC would be able to see all of this. This is being done automatically. And every year we're trying to cover more and more areas by automations. And how many risks do you have? 100. And which one of them is your favorite one? Well, my favorite one, I don't know. This time I want to see more of them realized so that it would look more effectively, more powerfully, so that everybody would do something, hackers and defenders. So we hope that in the next 3 days we are going to be happy viewers of all this fun. Okay, Anton, he didn't tell me about his favorite risks. I'm not going to ask you about favorite risks. You should hate them from the very beginning, as I understand, right?
No.
However, can you tell me, please, which risks do you expect? What, according to your opinion, is the most interesting one? Last year, we've been expecting until Red Team would come to the SCADA, and in the latest hours, they were able to reach it. I hope it's going to happen a little bit earlier this year, because yesterday, those people who's been working, they already get to the core city. So it's going to be a very hard level, not on the networking perimeter, but even deeper. So we're waiting when people will get to SCADA, and we're going to show beautiful 8-9 hubs, and it's going to be interesting. Well, I'm going to discover a secret. Those who watch us, it's not a secret for you. In addition to the fact that our attackers can realize business risks in our cyber field, in our cyber exercise, they can also change vulnerabilities and search for vulnerabilities. So which one of you, those of you who receives vulnerability reports? You do. Okay, then I'll ask you a lot of questions. I know that 64 vulnerability reports have been submitted, and I think that it's a big number for first day. Is that right or not? And which vulnerabilities, and what's interesting? Well, it's not me, it's a big team who receives those vulnerability reports. It's a big number. And all these reports have been accepted. Well, not many of them have been accepted, actually speaking, because some of them are not completed. We ask them to recheck them and then they submit them. So the percentage is not a big one. Some of them had to be resubmitted. But speaking generally, according to my evaluation, approximately 10 nodes have already been attacked from the vulnerability point of view, and there were different vulnerabilities, injections, SQL injections, so the complete set that we are expecting from hackers. Vulnerabilities in web applications, and we are placing them usually outside the perimeter, so it's going to be like an entry point to see proactive actions from hackers. Thank you. Oleg told us that these vulnerability reports are being sent to beginners, newbies, but you work with other reports. As I understand, you receive reports from defenders, because we have a defender team here, and the defender team observes everything that happens with our standoff, and they are not resisting attackers, but they should describe their actions as detailed as possible, so that global professor would tell us that everything is understandable, everything is wonderful, and everything's beautiful. So in the course of yesterday, they've submitted 48 incident reports from defenders. Can you tell me what kind of a defender submitted incident reports are? And when these unacceptable events were realized lesser than we expected, what about these numbers? Well, it's a simple story. The blue team has two objectives. Main objective is to investigate unallowable events which already have been realized, and this investigation consists of certain steps. Story number one, the web has been broken. Story number two, they penetrated into the corporate network, etc. And there is a certain number of steps which are brought together into this kill chain. Objective number two for the blue team: before unacceptable event has been realized, each of these steps can be submitted as atomic incidents. So they see a certain information security violation. For example, some Mimikat has been downloaded and they try to violate the password. It's an incident. And these are the reports they've been submitting yesterday. They've seen certain violations, they've seen certain attacks which has not led to unacceptable event, but they still have been submitting them. Okay, clearing up question. I've been looking at the statistics of what was happening in the course of last 24 hours. And it did happen that report leaders were defenders in the banking sphere. Hello, bank defenders. So can you tell me please what they've been submitting, how the banking sphere was attacked, and which reports were submitted? Well, honestly speaking, there were a lot of phishing stories, there were a lot of attempts of different web injections and attempts of getting hold. So the red teams were trying to get hold. We have very experienced defenders, so they know what to do.